The trading world loves to showcase its victories. The massive gains, the perfectly timed entries, the screenshots of profit that fill social media feeds. But what is rarely ever shared is the origin story. The reality is much grittier. The majority of us don't enter this arena with a clear plan and a disciplined mind. We are drawn to it by promise, by ambition, or by a need for change. For some, trading appears in a viral video of someone earning a month's salary in minutes. For others, it's a colleague boasting about a new crypto coin. It could be the dream of leaving a 9-to-5, a cure for boredom, or a desperate search for a better future. The entry points are diverse, but the expectations we carry are strikingly universal. I can master this fast. I can generate income quickly. I can achieve financial independence. I can outwit this game. If any of those thoughts crossed your mind, you stepped right into the initial trap. Because while trading does offer a path to freedom, that path is only open to those who endure the trials that eliminate 95% of participants. Let's be perfectly clear. If you are on this path, you have, with near certainty, blown up a trading account. Likely more than one, perhaps more than you're willing to admit. This is not an anomaly. It is the price of admission. It is the standard initiation. But destroying accounts is not the moment of true transformation. That pivotal moment arrives much later. It is far more gut-wrenching, far more psychological, and requires a profound level of self-honesty. This is the story of that moment. My moment, and very likely yours as well. Every trader navigates a phase where their activity isn't genuine trading. It's a flurry of experimenting, speculating, reacting, and wishing. You're pressing buttons and calling it experience. Following your first string of losses, you reason, I just need a system. I just need more education. I just need a superior entry signal. And so your journey of discovery begins. But this is the part no one ever warns you about. Discovery very quickly spirals into obsession. You begin with the fundamentals: RSI, MACD, moving averages, support, and resistance. Soon you're pulled deeper into the vortex. ICT methodologies, smart money concepts, Wyckoff accumulation schematics, Elliott wave theory, order blocks, volume profile analysis, market structure shifts, algorithmic trading patterns, Fibonacci clusters, supply and demand zones, price action signals, candlestick interpretation, news events, and volatility cycles. A single strategy multiplies into 2, then 10, until you're left with a Frankenstein's monster of conflicting ideas. You tell yourself you're getting better, but your account balance remains stagnant or declines. You possess more knowledge than ever. You can read the charts. You can articulate complex theories. You could even teach technical analysis to a newcomer. But your actions, your behaviors, remain entirely unchanged. You still widen your stops, chase momentum, take revenge trades, jump in too soon, get out too soon, trade too frequently, use too much leverage, hope a losing trade will reverse, pray when you should be planning, freeze when you should be acting, trade when you're emotional, and hesitate when an opportunity is perfect. You've built technical sophistication but remain emotionally underdeveloped. This gap between what you know and what you do erodes your self-belief, because on a deep level you are aware you should be doing better, but you still can't make yourself do it. That internal conflict is corrosive. You're not a novice anymore. You're not ignorant. You've invested hundreds of hours in study and thousands of minutes watching screens, yet the result is identical. You can't maintain consistency. You may not be blowing up accounts, but you aren't making progress either. You are stranded between two identities, no longer a losing trader, but not yet a winning one. This is the most psychologically brutal stage in trading. It's a purgatory where the majority of traders give up because the path forward is no longer clear. If a lack of information was the issue, more information would have been the cure. But you've already walked that road. Now you just feel adrift, stuck, confused, let down, and depleted. And worst of all, you begin to doubt your own character. Am I not cut out for this? Do I not have what it takes? Is trading simply not for me? The reality is this. You're not failing due to a lack of ability. You're failing because you're applying strategic solutions to a psychological issue, and a strategy cannot heal your mindset. If you want to understand the true psychology of speculation, you must read the one book that defines the game. I'm talking about Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. It is not historical. It is a permanent education in human nature and market cycles. The book is pure truth. Get your copy today. The link is in the description below. Now, we arrive at the breaking point, the juncture where most traders exit the game for good. There is a moment in every trader's journey where the chart ceases to be data and begins to feel like a judgment. In the beginning, losing money is a source of frustration. It's annoying, inconvenient, a problem you believe you can solve with more knowledge, a better system, or another tutorial. But over time, the nature of the losses changes. They no longer just impact your account balance. They start to chip away at your confidence, your identity, and your sense of self-worth. A losing trade is no longer just a losing trade. It becomes evidence. It becomes a question. It becomes a seed of doubt. Maybe I'm not designed for this. This is the instant the market transforms from a playing field into a mirror, a brutally honest one. It reflects every single weakness you've tried to suppress. Your impatience, your lack of self-control, your emotional impulsivity, your need for certainty in an environment that guarantees none. Your desire to win quickly instead of winning correctly. And the most difficult part is that you can no longer hide from it. It usually unfolds after a familiar pattern. You adhere to your plan. You feel like you're making progress. You place trades with a newfound sense of clarity. Then a losing streak arrives. Not a minor one, but one that feels deliberate, aimed directly at you. You take one more trade to earn it all back. Then another, and another. You abandon your rules. Your thinking becomes clouded. Logic dissolves. Before you know it, you are no longer executing your system. You are trading your own fear. You are trading your desperate need to repair something that wasn't broken until you broke it. You stare at the monitor and ask yourself, how did this happen again? Not with fury, but with a deep, sinking disappointment. Because you knew better and you did it anyway. This is where the true suffering begins. You start to question not just your trading choices, but your very character. You ask why you consistently do the opposite of what you know to be right. Why you can preach discipline but fail to practice it. Why you can advise others on what works but cannot follow that advice yourself. It feels like you are two separate individuals, the one who knows what needs to be done and the one who willfully refuses to do it. The conflict between these two is not a quiet disagreement. It is a war. A war waged in silence. A war nobody else can see. A war where you are both the aggressor and the casualty. For some, this breaking point is a depleted account. For others, it's losing money they couldn't afford to risk. Rent, savings, borrowed capital. For some, it's not financial at all. It's the sheer exhaustion, the emotional fatigue, the relentless cycle of hope, effort, failure, and guilt. Eventually, every trader confronts the same silent question. Is this all worth it? And for many in that precise moment, the answer is no. They walk away. Not because the market was too difficult, not because their strategies were flawed, not because they weren't intelligent enough, but because they never learned to master their own minds. Because the emotional toll became heavier than the potential financial reward. Because confronting your own imperfections is far harder than losing money. But here is the paradox. If these words resonate with you, if you have felt broken, frustrated, humiliated, and humbled by the market, you are closer to success than you realize. Why? Because the breaking point is the place where all illusions are shattered. The illusion of being in control, the illusion of rapid success, The illusion that a strategy alone is your salvation. The illusion that your P&L defines your value. This is the moment the ego finally cracks, creating space for discipline, for humility, for patience, and for structure. You cannot become a consistently profitable trader without this internal collapse. You can't shortcut it. You can't bypass it. You cannot evade this confrontation with yourself. The breaking point is not the conclusion. It is the initiation. It is the gateway that separates the amateur from the professional. It is the invisible rite of passage that every successful trader has survived. And once you pass through it, you will never see the markets the same way again. Because now you grasp the truth. Success in trading doesn't belong to the smartest, the fastest, or the most self-assured. It belongs to those who survived themselves. Remember this sentence. You don't quit trading at this point. You quit being the trader you were. This is the beginning of the rebirth. This is where the real journey starts. This is the breaking point. There comes a time in every trader's development when the mental noise finally subsides, not because the losses cease, and not because the market becomes any less complex, but because something fundamental inside you shifts. In the beginning, trading is a pursuit of certainty, of the perfect system, of a feeling of command over the outcome. But in time, after enough errors, enough emotional breakdowns, and enough painful lessons, that pursuit begins to slow. And the central question shifts from, how can I win more, to why do I consistently sabotage my own efforts? That is the true turning point. For the first time, your focus moves away from indicators, patterns, and online strategies, and it turns inward. You start to perceive what was once invisible, not on the charts, but within yourself. You didn't blow accounts due to a lack of knowledge. You blew them because you couldn't walk away when you knew you should. You didn't fail because your strategy was ineffective. You failed because you never gave it a fair chance to perform. You didn't lose because the market was rigged. You lost because you were operating from emotion instead of logic. And gradually, a new understanding emerges. Trading is not a test of your intelligence. It is a test of your emotional regulation. You begin to identify the patterns in your own behavior. You increase your position size after a win. You hesitate after a loss. You exit winning trades prematurely out of fear. You hold on to losers because of ego. You trade out of boredom, not because of a valid signal. You react to price movement instead of waiting for your setup. You see that the market was never the source of chaos. Your reactions to it were. Once this becomes clear, a powerful transformation begins. You stop taking losses personally. You stop believing every trade should be a winner. You release the need to predict the next market move. You stop chasing price because it feels right. Instead, you start to approach trading as a defined process. You stop saying, I hope this works, and start thinking, if this meets my criteria, I execute. If it doesn't, I wait. You no longer ask, how do I stop losing? You ask, how do I execute my plan with consistency? The emotional peaks and valleys start to level out. A win feels normal, not euphoric. A loss feels acceptable, not catastrophic. You begin to place your trust in probability instead of emotion, in patterns instead of impulses, in process instead of instinct. And for the first time, you experience something rare for developing traders: control. Not over the market's direction, but over your own actions. This shift signals the start of authentic progress. You stop trying to beat the clock. You let the power of compounding do its job. You allow the mathematical edge to play out as it was always meant to. Trading is no longer an emotional roller coaster. It becomes a structured, data-driven endeavor. You no longer hunt for trades. Opportunities come to you. You no longer fear the market. You respect its nature. You no longer trade for an emotional rush. You trade to execute a plan. This is the moment of clarity, the realization that consistency is not about being perfect. It's about being predictable, repetitive, patient, and neutral. And in that quiet understanding, something inside you is finally unlocked. You stop trying to be a new trader every week and start becoming a more refined version of the same trader every day. This is the point where chaos gives way to clarity. This is where emotional trading dies and professional trading is born. Once that realization solidifies, once you truly accept that the market was never your adversary and the fight was always internal, the process of rebuilding begins. But it feels different this time. You're no longer fueled by a sense of urgency, by ego, or by the need to prove yourself. You are guided by clarity, by purpose, by a calm conviction that trading is not about winning quickly, but about building something that lasts. You start by stripping away all non-essentials. The redundant indicators, the endless system hopping, the mental clutter, the impulsive attempts to outsmart randomness. You embrace simplicity, not because it's easier, but because it is more effective. You select one methodology, one framework, one set of rules. And for the first time, you dedicate yourself to mastering it rather than abandoning it. You build a solid structure. You design a pre-market routine, a specific list of entry and exit criteria, a defined risk for every trade, a maximum number of trades per day, a hard stop time, a weekly review. Not because a book told you to, but because you now understand that without structure, discipline has no foundation. You stop trading when you're emotional. You stop increasing risk after a victory. You stop trying to aggressively win back losses. You stop believing the next trade will erase the mistakes of the last. Every action now carries intention instead of reaction. You begin to journal, not just to analyze the market, but to analyze yourself. You document what triggered your entry, how you felt before you clicked the mouse, whether you followed your plan or deviated, how you reacted as the trade unfolded, why you exited where you did, and what emotions were present: fear, greed, hesitation, impatience. Over time, your journal transforms from a trade log into a chronicle of your own evolution. Patterns appear, not in price, but in your behavior. You start to recognize the precise moment when an impulse tries to take over your decision-making. And when it does, something remarkable happens. You pause, you breathe, and you wait. Not for the market to do something, but for your own discipline to reassert itself. You redefine what progress means. A winning trade no longer excites you. A losing trade no longer devastates you. Instead, the only question that truly matters is, did I follow my process? Because you now grasp a concept most traders never do. A winning trade that broke your rules is a step backward. A losing trade executed flawlessly is a step forward. Your identity shifts. Success is no longer measured by the outcome, it's measured by your behavior. You become the trader who judges consistency by execution, not by profit and loss. And then, something powerful starts to unfold. Your losses become smaller, your winners run cleaner, your equity curve begins to smooth out, your mind becomes calmer, your confidence becomes less loud, but far more resilient. Trading no longer resembles a casino. It feels like a profession. Predictable, repeatable, and measurable. What once felt like chaos now feels orderly. What once felt personal now feels objective. What once felt overwhelming now feels manageable. You no longer chase trades because you trust that new opportunities will always come. You no longer fear losses because risk is a pre-calculated business expense. You no longer rush the journey because you finally understand that mastery is a marathon, not a sprint. And that is when the ultimate shift occurs. You stop trying to be profitable and instead, you start to be consistent. Because profitability is not a target to be aimed at. It is a side effect, a natural consequence of discipline, process, emotional maturity, and patience. This is the stage most traders never reach, not because it is intellectually difficult, but because it demands something most are unwilling to give, an honest look in the mirror. But you did. You were broken. You learned. You rebuilt. Not your strategy, not your charts, your mindset. And now, slowly but surely, you are becoming the trader you always hoped you could be.